today. So if you would like to join me here, I've got a quick couple of icebreaker activities before we go into the full presentation. Let me just introduce myself very briefly here. My name is Dave Ross, and I'm the Chief Agile Evangelist at Miro. I have over 2 decades of experience working in software development, and I've led agile transformations of varying size and magnitudes in some of these companies, including GitHub, Expedia Group, and Experian. I'm a former Jira administrator, so I have quite a high degree of familiarity with Jira. I have used Jira fairly extensively over the course of my career, but I now work at Miro, and Miro is a different tool, obviously. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'll show you the deep integration that exists between the Atlassian suite, which is Jira and Confluence, together with Miro. So just a little bit about Miro before I get started. So if you're not familiar with Miro, Miro is what we call an innovation workspace, although it has a fairly significant history. It's been around since 2011. It was an online whiteboarding tool, and that was pretty much, it created that category of software. And then several years later, fast forward to the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we transformed more into a visual collaboration tool. And that's when Miro really became quite popular internationally. It was really one of the few tools that could be used on a collaborative basis for teams that were at the time stuck at home and unable to be in the office. And then since 2024, we've evolved Miro to be more of what I call the innovation workspace. It's not just a simple visual facilitation or collaboration space. There's a lot of very deep integrations with various tools, such as Jira and Confluence, that allow teams to do quite a bit of their work collaboratively in a single space. So we call it now an innovation workspace. We have over 80 million users worldwide now, and excuse me, these are all the accolades and awards that we've won over the years that you can see as well. If you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, of course, you can scan this with your phone on this QR code, and it will take you directly to my LinkedIn profile. And then again, if you want to access this board, please go to this link here, and you can join me at the same time. So the first thing I would like to do is I'm going to bring everybody to me. And let me just turn on the cursor so I can see where everybody is. Bring everybody to me. What I'd like you to do is, I just would like to know how would you rate your current level of Miro knowledge and skill? And to do that, can you grab one of these? So what you do is you just hover over one of these little Miro logos, click on it, and then you're able to drag it to one of the numbers on a scale of 1 to 5. So if you feel like you're a beginner and you don't really have a lot of knowledge of Miro, rate yourself lower. If you feel like you're more of a power user, you can rate yourself a little bit higher. Don't worry, this isn't a test. It's just for me to understand who my audience is. I just want to make sure that I understand, and I'm not, speaking on topics that might be too advanced or not advanced enough. So I'll give everybody a couple of minutes to do that. And then once you've selected your number, come over to this other side here, and then take a sticky note and drag it down into this space, and just tell me what you use Miro for today. Could be anything. If you use it for retrospectives or workshops or things of that nature, just let me know. It would be, again, give me a good idea of my audience and understand how you understand or how you use Miro today. So I'll give everybody another couple of minutes to do that. Okay. And if for any of the late joiners, there is a link in the chat that you can join on this board and participate as well. So I'll let everybody finish up their sticky notes over there. Looking at my scale here, we have a good range. So there's people who are mostly beginners with Miro. And then we have some people who would rate themselves, 3 or 4, which is great to see. When I look at the types of activities that people are using Miro for, I see here that we have a retro, we have icebreakers, workshops, whiteboarding, creating flow diagrams, and visual thinking, which is great. Those are more advanced use cases. So really happy to see that. Workshops and retros, yeah, that's a great place as well. More workshops and brainstorming, perfect. Okay, and some more workshops down here. Okay, perfect. What I didn't notice is that there's not a lot of people here who are currently using Miro to do things like sprint planning or interact with Jira in any way, which is the purpose of our talk here today. I'm going to show you a few things about how Miro integrates with Jira and with Confluence. And to get that conversation started, I just want to, of course, give you a few references and a few notes on what we're talking about here today. So to integrate Miro and Jira, you first have to have a paid Miro plan. So if you use Miro as a free user, that's not part of either a starter, business, enterprise, or education paid plan, you're not able to integrate with Jira. That's functionality that we reserve, for better or for worse, for paid subscribers. There's also 2 things that I'm going to show you that are related to the Jira integration, called the Jira Planner Board and the Dependency app. And you must also be on a paid Miro business plan to use those. So again, you can't be a free user. You have to have a business or an enterprise plan to use those items, which I'll show you here in a moment. And the integration for Jira is available for both Jira Cloud and Jira Server, which, as we all know, or we should know as Atlassian community members, Jira Server has been not discontinued, but it's no longer supported by Atlassian. There are still several Jira Server instances out there, though. And so we do integrate with both Jira Cloud, Jira Server, and Jira Data Center. So just be aware that that integration is possible as well. Most of the time that I'm going to spend talking is going to be on these 2 integrations here. So these are in what's called the Miro Marketplace. So these are integrations that you would have to install in Miro in order to connect your instance of Jira with Miro and your instance of Confluence with Miro. And I'll just show you exactly where those are. So when I click on this card, you'll see that there's a little button up top that says Source. I'll click over there and you'll see it's right here. This is the Miro Marketplace up here at the top. And this is the Jira Cards integration. And then here it just describes all of the features and functionality. And there's a little video that you can watch at your leisure to understand how that integration works. And the same for Confluence. If I go to the Miro Marketplace for Confluence, here it describes the Confluence integration. So it's 2 separate integrations. I just want to make that clear. If you want to just connect Jira or just connect Confluence, you will need a separate integration for both. Okay. There's also going to be a little time to talk about these 2 squares in the middle, which is the planner for Jira, which I'll describe in a minute, and dependencies for Jira. These you do not need to install. These will come if you install the Jira Cards integration with Miro. And then last but not least, I also want to call out that there are 2 separate integrations. So what I've just described to you, when you integrate Jira and Confluence with Miro, that gives you the ability to pull Jira and Confluence data into Miro. However, in the Atlassian marketplace, there are also separate integrations that allow you to pull Miro boards into Jira and into Confluence. And again, I'll just pull open and I'll show you, because so it's a total of 4 different integrations. And I just want to call out that they do different things. So here's Miro for Jira Cloud. It allows you to pull in a Miro board into a Jira issue. And then for Confluence, it's the same. You can pull in a Miro board and embed it in a Confluence page. Okay. We're going to spend just a little bit of time on these towards the end. but I did want to call out that these are separate integrations. So there's a total of 4. All right, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Let me go over here now and show you the first part of the Miro and Jira cards integration. So as I mentioned, you have to ask your Jira administrator to go to the Miro marketplace and install the Jira cards integration with Miro. And there's a connection that they make. And when you do that, you get functionality that allows you to do a few different things. It allows you to pull Jira cards directly onto a Miro board so that you can use them for things like sprint planning. You can use them for things like big room planning if you're having multiple teams come together and plan their work. It also allows you to create and edit Jira issues directly from a Miro board, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And then you can also take Miro shapes like sticky notes and other elements and convert them directly into a Jira card, and it automatically will sync back to Jira. And what I really want to highlight here is that the integration that Miro has with Jira allows you to have two-way syncing. It's a two-way syncing integration. So if you make a change in Jira, those changes will be reflected in near real time in Miro. And if you make changes in Miro to a Jira card, it will automatically sync that information back to Jira in near real time. So just be aware that that's it's a two-way syncing. It's not just you pull data from Jira into Miro and display it, and you can never change it. It is possible to change all of that information. So the very first thing that I'll show you is you can add a Jira card by pasting the issue URL into any Miro board. So up here, for example, here I am in Jira. You can see here I've got a Jira issue. It's a user story. And what I'm doing up here is taking the URL and I am copying it. And then I'm coming back here to the Miro board. And then I'm just going to paste that URL. And you can see that what it's done is it's automatically, the Miro board recognizes that URL as a Jira issue, and it has created a card with all of that data. So I'll go back here and you say, as a user, I want to be able to view my remaining time off balance. That's the summary of that card. And you can see here, it's the same thing. You can open this card by clicking on this little circle in the upper right-hand corner. And what it does is it opens a sidebar in Miro. And these are all of the fields that you are able to edit. I've just put a limited number of fields up here. You can configure the view so that you can decide what fields you want people to be able to edit within Miro. So you can see here, you can choose the priority. So I'm going to do that. You can set the assignee. You can even determine what sprint you want it to go into. And maybe add some story points. I'm going to do that as well. And now I'm just going to hit the update button. And what happens now is this card should be updated. And I will click over to the actual Jira issue in Jira. And you should be able to see all of those updates that can be made. So again, it's very easy to make updates back and forth between this particular card and make sure that it syncs back to Jira directly. So that's one way that you can pull Jira issues in. There's another way that you can do it in bulk. And so I'm going to open what's called the Jira cards screen. So you can see up here, I clicked on this little plus button. And then up at the top, I'm able to type in Jira card. And that gives me a tool right here. When I click on that tool, it gives me a pop-up. This is where I have access to all of the different settings of the integration between Miro and Jira. So you can see here, when I click on settings, it allows you to set up some of the things that you can do. You can connect to multiple instances, for example, of Jira if you want to. It allows you to do all of that. When you want to configure the cards, so the cards are the Jira cards that are displaying in Miro, you can toggle off or on all of these different fields. If you want to display maybe, the components field, you can do that and turn it on, and it will start displaying on cards that are displayed on the board. Not just one caveat here, not all fields are able to be displayed on the Jira card in Miro. So one notable example would be the labels field, for example. The labels field, because it's a free-form multi-value field in Jira, means you could have almost an unlimited number of data points or labels within that field, and therefore it's very difficult to display all of those. Like if you had 30 or 40 different labels on a single Jira issue, it would be impossible to display those on a Jira card. So labels is not possible to be displayed, but all of these other fields, such as reporter, sprint, start date, story points, all of that information is available to be displayed. And so you would change that when you update the card configuration again. So let me go back to Jira cards again. So that's the configure cards. Here, the show imported. If you've imported cards onto the Miro board already and you want to see which ones that you've already imported, it will highlight it and put like a little star beside the card name down here. You can also directly create a Jira issue from this pop-up screen. So if I click on that, you can see it says up here, create a Jira issue. This is a brand new, fresh issue, doesn't exist in Jira, doesn't exist in Miro, but you can create it from here. Okay, let me just go back now and show you the rest of this screen. So you can actually do a basic search or an advanced JQL search for Jira issues that you want to pull into the Miro board and start working with them. So for example, I can type in issue type equals epic, excuse me, and that will filter out this list to only show all of the epic issues that are available in the Jira instance that I'm connected to. And then I could go in and say, yes, I want all 30 of these epics because we're going to talk about, and we're going to do some planning at the epic level. Let me go in and add these 33 epics to the Miro board. So I've selected all of them. I'm now going to hit the add 33 button, and there it is. Let me just pull them over here. And so you can see I have all of these Jira epics that have been pulled into the Miro board, and I did them all at once. So that's the usefulness of the Jira cards integration, is it allows you to pull in a large number of Jira issues based on either a basic search or on an advanced JQL search. It allows you to do all of that. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part that I want to show you, so we've done these first two. We're going to bulk convert sticky notes and native Miro cards into Jira cards. And to do that, what I've done is I've built, some of you have said in your comments that you do workshops and things like that. Well, when you do workshops in Miro, you typically do things on sticky notes. What I've built here is what's called a user story map. This is sometimes used by agile software development teams when they're trying to design a new greenfield feature, and they just want to think through the different components and parts of what that feature might look like. And so usually you have what's called the backbone up here at the top. This is the pink. These are the user tasks that usually maps to an epic in Jira. And then underneath each of the epics, you would have individual user stories or jobs to be done or some more granular bundle of work underneath that top level epic. And so let's say that the team has come together and they've planned out the first 3 epics, and they've said, well, we're going to have to do a story 1, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D in order to deliver this particular feature up at the top. So assuming that the team has done that, what you can do then is you can take your cursor and highlight each of those sticky notes, and then go over here and say, on the floating bar, I want to convert all of these to Jira issues. So I'm going to click on that button. Our sidebar opens up again. And you can see that I can choose which project in Jira that these issues will be created in. So I'm going to say, yeah, let's put it in the PTO project in Jira. These are all stories, so I'm going to leave it as a story issue type. These are medium priority. I don't need to change that. And then what maps over from the actual sticky note itself is the whatever you have here is text. So story 1A will map over to the summary field in Jira. Okay. You can add description. You can put an assignee. So in this case, I'm going to just leave this unassigned for now. You can add them to an epic. So if there's a specific epic that you want to add it to, you can do that. I'm going to put this in feature 1. And then add in any other information you want here. And then you hit the convert button down at the bottom. And then you watch as all 4 of these sticky notes become Jira cards. Okay. So let me just click through and show you exactly what that means. Story 1A, it's now created in Jira and it's available to you as a full-fledged issue. And it's already been put in the right epic. It's already has the right priority. This is a very quick and easy way for you to be able to do some unstructured brainstorming and thinking with the team on a Miro board. And then when your ideas are ready to then be transferred over to Jira, you can make that, that transfer very seamless and very easy. Okay, so that's a sticky note. I'm also going to show how you can do the exact same thing, but with what's called a Miro card. So you'll see I just converted those sticky notes into little square boxes. These are not Jira issues yet. They are what's called a Miro card. A Miro card is like a sticky note in Miro, but it allows you to use structured data. So it allows you just to use a set of fields like the title, like an assignee. So I'm going to put in my name here. And you are also able to put in an estimate. So I'm going to say this is a 5 story point. And then I'm also going to say, here are some acceptance criteria. And I'm going to number them. First one, and then the second one, and then the third one. Okay. So I've written basically a very small user story. Could be a job to be done if that's the format that you use. But you can create this just using a card format. And you'll see that this card obviously has is a little bit different than this other card because I've added the estimate, I've added the assignee, and I've added some acceptance criteria. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this particular Miro card and convert it into a Jira issue, same as I did with the sticky note. So I click on that button and you'll see the sidebar opens again. And what's different this time is that you can see the summary maps over with the title, but then the description has that text that I put in there. Here are some acceptance criteria, first one, second one, third one. And you can see that I've also got the assignee. I assigned it to myself and that maps over. Those are the 3 fields that you get when you map over and try to transfer a Miro card over to a Jira issue. So same thing as before, we'll go ahead and convert that. And now this Miro card is going to convert into what looks like the Jira cards off to the side. Okay, so there's usefulness for both. If you just have like a very basic set of information that you want to get into Jira, you can just take this sticky note, convert it over to Jira, and it becomes an issue. However, if you've got a little bit more detail that you want to capture, put it into a Miro card format, and then you'll get more fields that map over and become actual Jira issues. So let me just open this one up and show you what that looks like. So there you go. There's the story, there's the description, and there's the assignee fields that mapped over. Okay. So if you think about it, what's the use case for this portion of the Jira integration? It's for things like if you're doing user story mapping, like I showed you above, the team comes together, has some unstructured conversations, maps out and has some ideas about what they want to build. And then you can highlight all of these sticky notes and convert them over to Jira issues. Same thing with some of these other, these are all templates from Jira, by the way. This is how to organize your backlog. So as you know, in Jira, you have the ability to use a stacked ranked list in Jira to organize your backlog. However, that's not always adequate for all the needs that different teams have. So if you want to build a user story map, or you have a Kanban team and they just want to sort of have this free form way of organizing their backlog so that the items at the back are less important, the items at the front are more important, and then they color code it depending on whether it's a feature or a bug or tech debt or whatever the case might be. You can keep your backlog on a Miro board, and then when you need to, convert it to a Jira issue and move it into that team's either Kanban or Scrum board. There's lots of other examples here. I'm not going to go through all of them just in the interest of time, but it's a very helpful way for you to manage your backlog in different ways because Jira only sort of limits you to that stacked ranked list. If you have very unstructured or very sort of early drafts of ideas that don't really need to be in Jira, you can put them on a Miro board. And then when they're more well-developed or when you're closer to actually developing them, then you can hit this convert button and change it over to Jira and then manage the work in Jira directly. All right. I want to show you now, we're going to move on to number 2 here, which is, this is the second part of the Jira integration. So Jira Cards was the first one. This is what's called the planner board. There's no separate integration for this. If you set up the Jira Cards integration, you get the planner board along with it. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to bring entire boards from teams that either the Scrum board or Kanban boards, whatever the case may be, and pull those boards into into Miro so that you can work with them. I'll give you an example. So first of all, the way that you find it is, again, you go down here and you type in planner and you click on it. You see your cursor now has changed so that it's a little square. I've clicked on the board and now I've got this empty planner widget. And this allows me to then choose if I want to connect to a different instance of Jira. If you have multiple instances, you would choose the instance of Jira that you want to connect to here. And then here you would select, I want to work with this particular team's board. I want to work with the PTO team. So I'm going to choose their board. And so it's going to take a minute to apply those changes. And what it's showing me right now is that it's showing me that the columns are the status of their workflow. I'm not really interested in seeing the status of the workflow. What I really want to see instead is the different sprints that this particular team has planned. So I choose sprint here, and you can see now that the planner widget is pulling in all of these Jira cards directly from Jira in real time. And it's showing me that this team's backlog, it's showing me their sprint 1 and sprint 2. And you can say, well, you know what? That's really interesting. I don't want to see the backlog necessarily, but I do want to see the first 3 sprints because we're going to plan the next 6 weeks worth of work for this team. So let me just apply that change. And you can see here now sprint number 3 will start populating here in a second. There you go. I have sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. So now as I look at this, you are able to drag cards back and forth between the different columns. And so you could say, ooh, sprint 1, this particular item, I don't think it's going to fit in. So let's put it in sprint 2. We're going to schedule it for later on in time. There's other controls here at the top that I want to call out as well. You can add swim lanes to this board as well. So if you wanted to add a swim lane by assignee or component, you could do that so that it kind of changes how the data is presented on the board. And you can undo that readily. It's not fixed like it is on a Jira board. And then there's other controls up here, such as this filter. So when you click on this filter up top, it takes a minute to load. It allows you to either find a filter. You can filter by sprint, by issue type. So if you only wanted to see bugs or tech debt items or epics, you could do that. You can also filter out by assignee. And then you can also choose this one, which is a quick filter. And the quick filter filter out adds this to your menu options at the top of the planner. And it says, I want to add a filter. Sorry, you have to click on this and just choose one of the quick filters that are actually associated with this Teams board in Jira. So sort by created date, I'm going to apply that. And it's going to change how this is all displayed. So you have the ability to access those quick filters that you use in Jira directly on this planner board in Miro. The other control that's interesting up here is you can show column capacity and load. You'll see when I clicked on that, it opened up a load capacity field at the top of every column. And I'm also going to turn on show story points on the cards. What that will do is, if you're doing something like sprint planning with your teams, this is a really easy way to get the information displayed on Miro so that they can balance the load and capacity of whatever the team is working on. Load is a calculated field, meaning that it will take, if there's a story point value already associated with this Jira card, it will, and let me just open it up here. So you can see down here, the story point field here is populated with a value of 8. What it will do, it will start adding up all of the story points in this column. So you can see there's a 5 here, there's an 8 here, there's not any more here that I can see. And it should be actually uploading. So let me just hard refresh this. It should reflect here in the load field. Oh, so there's an error fetching data from Jira. That's why it's not updating. It will automatically calculate that all the story points together. So you should have a value of 21 here. And then the capacity field you fill out manually. So load is automatically calculated, or is when it's working. But the capacity field is something that you would fill in based on your team's velocity, based on historical precedent, and then you adjust it obviously by things like public holidays, vacation time, all of that kind of stuff. And then if you enter a capacity number into there, and the load number is higher than that, then this column will turn red. So this is just a very handy way for teams to be able to manage their capacity and load as they're planning sprints going forward. And that's really one of the more important use cases for the Planner app in Jira. I'm sorry, in Miro that we pull from Jira. All right, that's the Planner board. The use case that's very very useful for this particular widget is when you do things like big room planning, sometimes also called PI planning, or team of teams planning. I've got a template here on a Miro board where I have multiple teams that are coming together to plan their work for the next quarter. So for the next 3 months, they want to be able to plan their work. How do they do that? They come down here. Every team has what's called a breakout frame. So they're able to pull Jira cards, which are features over here that they need to work on. And then they pull in their planner board here, and they plan out all of the sprints that they need to plan ahead for. So these are 6 different sprints, and this team would then pull features from here, break them down into stories, and then sequence the stories using that planner board widget that I just showed you. Okay. And then every single team, so these are like several different teams that are coming together to do this big planning activity, they would use these planner apps down here and build their individual plan at the team level. But then what they could do is they could take their individual planner app and I'll just put one in here and show you what it looks like. Then they could add it to what's called the program board, and then they would filter it to just show the epics for at the milestone or program board level. All of the teams would stack their individual plan at the epic level in this section, and then they would be able to do what I'm going to show you shortly, which is show dependencies between the teams. So if you have the need to do any sort of planning activity with teams using information from Jira, it's really helpful if you're able to pull the planner app and that Teams board from Jira, display it on a Miro board, start sequencing and planning out your work, and then it will automatically sync all of that information back to Jira. So it's a lot easier to do those planning motions from within a Miro board. All right, I'm looking at the clock here. We got 20 more minutes. I want to talk about the last part of the Jira integration in Miro, and that's the dependency app mapping. So as you know, within Jira, there exists something that's called the issue linking functionality. So here I am in Jira, there's linked issues, and this is all this is how Jira tracks and manages dependencies between bundles of work. So here you can see that this particular Jira issue has a blocker, it also duplicates, and it's blocked by another Jira issue. Well, what we do in Miro is we take that information and we display it visually as drawn lines between Miro cards or between Jira cards. So to give you an example, here are 4 different teams. I've pulled in their either their Kanban or their Scrum board from Jira using the planner app that I showed you earlier. So here's one team. This is the benefits team, the org chart team. This is all of their work that they have planned. And I want to be able to display the dependencies using linked issue functionality. There's 2 ways to do it. I'll show you this way first. If you type in dependencies, you get access to this, this little tool, and it opens a sidebar on the right. And what it will do is it will go through all of the issues that are displayed on the board, find the linked issue information, and populate it out here. I'm going to close this because it's taken too long. But there's another way to do it as well, which is to click on this. It's called an action box. Click to show dependencies, and you click on and you can show them now. I'm just going to refresh my page. For some reason, it's not pulling it up. It's usually within 3 to 5 seconds. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh my board, make sure that the connections are all fresh. There we go. All right, I'm going to click on that again now, and hopefully my dependencies, there we go. Dependencies will all show. So does this look like a spaghetti mess? Absolutely it does. There's a lot of dependencies between these teams. This is information overload, so you would never display it this way for your teams if they're trying to have some conversations about how do we manage dependencies between our teams. So what you can do is you go to this filter icon at the top, and you say, just show me the lines when I select them. So you can see it kind of cleans up the view a little bit. And what it means is I can now click on a card, and it will automatically draw a line to the issue where it has some form of a dependency. Same over here, same over here, same over here. So it's really useful to be able to, as teams start talking around, what are some of the dependencies I have on other teams, on other issues? It's a way to visualize that. You can also create new dependencies directly in Miro. And so I'm going to say that there's a dependency between this issue. Now I'm going to do this one over here. Between this issue and this one. So this one is called PTO 15. This one's perf 4. I'm going to click on both of those. And then what I'm going to do is create a new dependency. You can see PTO 15. I'm going to say it blocks perf 4. Excuse me. What I'm going to do now is hit this button that says Save Draft. And you can see there's a dotted line that's created between these two Jira cards, these 2 issues. At this point in time, nothing has been saved to Jira yet. This is the only time that the information isn't automatically synced back and forth between Miro and Jira. This is just a way for you to highlight a potential dependency or a provisional dependency between 2 Jira cards. And this allows the teams an opportunity to discuss it and to see if they can, excuse me, if they have the ability to negotiate it away. Because nobody wants to track dependencies if they can help it. Excuse me. It's you want to give them the opportunity to maybe redesign that feature in such a way that they can eliminate the dependency, or they can resequence the work in such a way that there's no longer a dependency one upon the other. But let's say the teams had that conversation, they discussed it, they weren't able to negotiate that particular dependency away. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make it official. We're going to save it now to Jira. And so that dotted line will turn into a solid line when I hit this button, Save to Jira. Let's give it a second. And there you go. So now PTO 15 is blocking perf 4. And if we go into Jira, you can see that that will be the case. So here's PTO 15, there's perf 4. It's now a linked issue and it's now a blocked issue. So it's a good way to be able to very quickly manage, visualize, discuss, negotiate around dependencies in a way that it isn't very easy to do directly in Jira, because you don't have that visualized line that allows you to do it. Okay. The best example I can give you of another way to use the dependency app to visualize that linked issue functionality in Jira is to build something that I call a strategy and execution pyramid. So this is for the people on the call. For example, maybe you're a program manager, maybe you're a release train engineer, maybe you're an engineering manager, or maybe you're a program manager. You have to stay on top of a large, complex body of work that teams are executing on regularly. And you may have multiple teams. The best example I can give you is when I worked at Expedia Group, I had responsibility for a multi-year program. We were replatforming. We were creating some new, a new tech stack that would consolidate many different tech stacks into one. This involved 14 different teams, and it was a multi-year project. I had to regularly report to the VP who was responsible for that program how progress is going and if she needed to help the teams get unblocked, because it was a very high visibility thing. So you can imagine that, look at here, I've got 9 different teams down here. They're all working on different, little tiny pieces of the work in question. How do we make sense of this? Like, how do we take all of this information and provide a visualization to that VP and explain to her how the work is going? You can do that by creating dependency relationships between all of those issues and have them roll up to the epic level, which then rolls up to the initiative level, which then rolls up to an objective level. So you may have like a 3 or 4 or 5 level hierarchy that you've built in Jira. Here's a way for you to present that visually in a way that you can tell stories and report off of. So I'll give you the example here. Let me turn on all of the dependencies here. And let me just show it always like that. Hold on one sec. And I've got all of this extra stuff over here. That's why it's looking a little messy. Let me get rid of some of that stuff. Okay. All right, much better. So what I could do is I could come into my meeting with this VP and say, well, good morning, Mrs. VP. Here's the status report that you're looking for on this particular program. We have 4 high-level objectives. 1 is on track, so we don't need to discuss that. 2 are behind plan. Don't worry, we have a mitigation plan in place. But I do want to just call your attention to this 1 objective, which is at risk. Okay, this is a Jira card, and it is connected down to 2 underlying initiatives. And I can say that this particular objective is at risk because this initiative is at risk. And the reason this initiative is at risk is because I have 2 epics or programs underneath that initiative that are also at risk. And so Mrs. VP would be like, okay, interesting. Tell me why this one is behind. And I would click on it and scroll down and say, well, I have these 3 stories that have not been started yet. They're on the Scrum Master team. They're blocked. We need access to one of the senior level or principal level architects because they're unable to proceed. The original design doesn't work, and we need to re-architect this. Okay, that's something she can help with. And then what about this second program or epic? Why is it behind? I have this Kanban team, the Agile Avengers. They have another story that's been selected for development but not yet started. They're blocked, but it's by another team in another division of the company. And we need you to go talk to that VP so that they can unblock the work over in that division of the company, reprioritize it so that we can work on this particular item. So you can see that there's a way to build these kinds of reporting structures or these program level or even portfolio level views using the linked issue functionality in Jira and then displaying and visualizing it on a Miro board. Okay, I'm going to move on. We've only got about 10 more minutes, super fast. I've talked a lot about Jira, and I neglected to mention that also you can embed Confluence cards in Miro. And it's very simple. What you would do is you would go to, a Confluence document like this, and you would just copy the URL, similar to what I did before, and then you would paste it and it would turn into this kind of a card. And then what that allows you to do is to have a view into that Confluence document directly from Miro. We haven't left Miro here. You can see this is the Confluence doc, and you can actually edit the Confluence doc directly in Miro as well. So you can see I've edited this Confluence document on October 17th. I'm going to update this document, and now it is available for people to view in Confluence as well. Same thing with Jira. It's a two-way syncing integration with Confluence. Last things I want to show you. So I've been talking about the integrations of pulling Jira and Confluence data into Miro. As I mentioned before, there are these two other integrations in the Atlassian marketplace that allow you to pull Miro boards into Jira issues and Confluence pages. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So if I click on this Jira card, this is a Jira issue, and I go to Jira, you can see that I've got a section down here that's called Miro boards. And I've embedded the board that I've just shown you in this Jira issue. So if I had diagrams or something that I had built out on a Miro board that I wanted to display here, I'm going to add and embed this diagram over here, and I have the ability now to reference it directly on this Jira issue. The way that you would do that, of course, is you can hide this section as well. There's apps. So there's an apps tab at the top of every issue. And here you would just say, I want to add the Miro board app. Again, you would probably need your Jira administrator's help to do this, but add the Miro boards integration into Jira. And you would click on that, and it gives you this ability to add this section below and embed any kind of Miro board that you want into a Jira issue. So maybe if you wanted to go back to this board and embed the user story map and embed that directly in to that issue, you could. You have that ability. The other thing that I would call it as well is you have the same ability in Confluence. So here's a Confluence page, and you can embed a Miro board in a Confluence page quite easily. Again, it uses that Miro integration that's in the Atlassian marketplace, so slightly different. And here's the board. You can see the board that we've been talking about this whole time. It's now embedded in a Confluence document. The way that you can add that is you, again, click on the insert or plus button and then type in Miro. And this allows you to embed Miro boards of any kind that you want within your Confluence doc. And you can make some choices about, do you want to view the full board or do you want to view just portions of it? All visitors are going to require access, all those kinds of things. Embed the board. And there you see it's embedding that the diagram board that I had put in or chosen before. And I'm sorry, let me just get out from that. Perfect. And then when you hit update, that board is now embedded within your Confluence page. So it's a very good way to ensure that you're not duplicating data. You can pull data from Jira or Confluence into Miro. You can pull Miro boards into Jira or Confluence very simply. There's no double entry. that data is available in a two-way nature. Last thing I'll leave you with, because we've only got 5 minutes, and I just want to answer some questions if I can. There's more information on on Miro here, the intelligent canvas. This is our latest and greatest refresh of the product. So if you want to go learn more about Miro, click on this square and go up to the source. You can do that. For those of you who are just learning about Miro, you can go to the Miro Academy. There's free training on how to use Miro. And you can get badges and things like that, much like you can with Atlassian University. So go to Miro Academy if you want. If you're more of a power user with Miro and you just want to join a community, much like this one, like the Atlassian community you're in right now, there's a Miro Enterprise Advocates community. If you're looking for ideas about how to use Jira more effectively, how to use Confluence more effectively in Miro, join that community, and it's a very welcoming community there. It's international, so it's all around. It's not a community specific, it's all around the world. If you're looking for more information on how to integrate Jira and Confluence with Miro, that's all here in our help desk or our help center documentation. It's complete and it's kept up to date regularly. And then just for fun, if you want to watch a fun little video later, you can come back and learn 100 Miro tips. This is Daniel Wersch. He's a funny Dutch guy, and he makes learning fun. So you can watch that video later on if you're interested. That is it. I have run through the board. I'm going to look through the chat and see if there are questions that I can answer. So I see from Rishu, you've asked, so can we customize these Miro cards for Jira and where the mapping between Jira and Miro stays? No, unfortunately, Rishu, you can't customize the mapping of fields between a Miro card and a Jira card. What you get is what you get out of the box, which is the summary field, the assignee, and the description field. Those are the only 3 fields that will map from a Miro card to a Jira card. So sorry about that. I think they're talking about giving us more flexibility and more fields that we'll be able to map. But as it stands, like the estimates field, I believe that's on the roadmap to map to the story point field. But that doesn't exist today and may not come to pass. So unfortunately, we have those limitations for now. By what time can we access this board? So that's another question from Rishu. Rishu, I will leave this board up forever. So you can come back and use this board as a reference for as long as you want. I've made it publicly accessible. If I show you up here, anyone with the link, you have edit rights. You can come back to this board anytime you want in the future and use it as a reference. You can also write down this URL and it will also bring you to this board. So you can have it going forward as a reference. All right. I don't think there's any other questions. Thank you. Great session. I appreciate it. Thank you all. I hope this was useful to you. There's a very powerful partnership between Atlassian is actually an investor in Miro, if you didn't know that. So that's why we have such a high level of integration and partnership with Atlassian. And there's a lot of really powerful things you can do once you enable the integrations between the tools. So I would really highly encourage you to do that. If you get the opportunity, try it, play with it, and see what you can build. And that's it for me.
Thanks, Dave. It was really a wonderful session and a great knowledge. I have used Miro in past, but I haven't used so well that how the integrations, we are using Jira, we are using Confluence, we are using Miro, but we haven't seen the integration that kind of. But it was really nice to see that how we can do that, and that dependency thing. It was mind-boggling that how the dependencies. It was definitely it can be a game changer for the teams who are struggling with the dependency management.
Perfect.
So, thanks to you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, and I'll be uploading the recording in a couple of days, and I'll share the link in the communication to all the participants so that they can access the board afterwards. And we'll definitely would like to collaborate in future as well, so that we can have more knowledgeable sessions with you on Miro and Atlassian.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful questions, the wonderful engagement. Link with me on LinkedIn. If you have any other questions or follow-ups, I'm always happy to answer them and happy to come back anytime.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.